The battlefield was silent, but not peaceful. Ash rained down from the sky like gray snow. Fires burned across the shattered land. Steel wreckage and broken armor covered the ground like dead leaves. The wind carried only the scent of smoke. In blood, Scifi stood alone. She was the last warrior of her squad. Her armor was dented, her breathing mask cracked, and her energy blade flickered with its final charge. She had fought for 3 days without rest. Her hands were numb. Her legs shook. But she would not kneel. The enemy was closing in. Dozens of war machines stomped across the field, their red sensors glowing like eyes of demons. Enemy soldiers stall. Armored brutes moved behind them, ready to finish what they started. Scifi's blue skin was smeared with dirt and blood. One horn on her head had been snapped in half. Her heart pounded with fear and rage. She looked up at the red moons. Her people were gone. Her world had fallen. She had promised to protect the outpost with her life, so that's what she would do. She raised her blade. Her other hand held a plasma pistol with only one shot left. Her voice cracked through the cums. "This is Scifi of the Varna Guard. I will not surrender." There was no reply. There was no one left to hear her. The enemy machines drew closer. She knew she couldn't win, but she would make them bleed before she died. Suddenly, dash movement behind the smoke. A shadow, not a machine, not a brute. A figure walking calmly through the fire and ash. Scifi narrowed her eyes. It was a man, a human. He wore rough, dirty armor. His face was smeared with soot. His short dark hair was messy. But he walked with confidence, like this was just another day for him. In one hand, he held a strange rifle. On his back, a heavy pack hummed with quiet energy. He walked right past a fallen brute shot in the head. A perfect kill. Was that his doing? Scifi aimed her pistol at him. "Identify yourself," she shouted in her alien tongue. The man looked at her. For a second their eyes met, then with a calm voice, he replied in her language, fluent, clear. "I'm not your enemy. I'm human." Scifi's hand trembled. She had heard of humans. Rare, dangerous, impossible to predict. He looked around at the burning field. Then he looked at her half-dead, bleeding, still standing, and he said something she didn't expect. "You fought well." "Not alone." She stared at him, stunned. Was he real? A dream? Trick? Before she could answer, a war machine spotted them. It locked its cannon and fired. The human moved fast. He grabbed Scifi and pulled her to the ground. The blast missed them by inches. She rolled, hit the dirt, and coughed hard. When she looked up, the human was already firing. His shots were quick and accurate. One hit. The war machine exploded in a ball of fire. Scifi sat there, shocked. He turned to her and smiled slightly. "Name's Carter." "Scifi," she whispered back. More enemies were coming. Carter knelt beside her, offering his hand. "You can fight?" She nodded. He gave her an extra clip for her pistol alien made. But compatible. Together, they stood, back to back. Enemy fire rained down again, but this time she wasn't alone. Carter didn't wait for orders. He never did. The moment he saw the next wave of enemy soldiers charging through the smoke, he moved. No plan, no backup. Just instinct. Scifi barely had time to react before the humans sprinted forward with wild speed straight into the heart of the battlefield, not behind cover. Not careful. Reckless. She cursed in her native tongue and followed. Her body was still weak, but her legs moved. Something about him, his calm face, his storm-like energy pulled her in. The enemy brutes noticed them. Their guns hummed, aiming fast. Carter slid under the first plasma shot like it was a game. He rolled across the dirt, came up kneeling, and fired twice. 2 headshots. Flawless. Then he was moving again. Scifi ducked behind an engine scrap, her breathing heavy. She peeked out and saw him leap over a fallen crate and slam a grenade against a mech's chest. Boom. Fire. Screams. He didn't look back. "What are you?" she whispered. He acted like a soldier, but didn't wear any rank. He fought like a beast. But with perfect control, she moved closer, covering his flank. Her plasma shots hit a brute in the chest, burning straight through the armor. Carter looked back and grinned. "Not bad, alien girl." She scowled. "Soraya. My name is Soraya. Inea." He repeated, nodding. "Nice aim." They moved like a strange dance. Two fighters from different worlds, covering each other like they'd trained for years. His Earth-style tactics confused the enemy. He was unpredictable. Soraya's world valued order formations, command lines, precise moves. Carter was chaos. And it worked, but he wasn't invincible. She noticed it when his left leg dragged for a second. A limp. Then, his shoulder took a glancing hit. He didn't flinch, just kept firing. But Soraya saw the blood fall back. She shouted. "No time," he said, throwing a flash charge. "We need to take out that signal tower. It's calling." "More dropships?" Soraya looked up. Tall spike blinked in the distance in a METech. Reinforcements would come through that beacon. "Then we move fast," she said. Carter pulled a small sphere from his belt, glowing with blue energy. "EMP pulse. Get me close." She stared at him. "That's suicide." He looked her dead in the eyes. "Only if I go alone." For a moment, her heart stopped. Then she nodded. "Let's go." They ran together, Soraya ducking and weaving. Carter firing nonstop. When one brute came too close, Carter didn't shoot. He tackled him. The brute was 3 times his size. Didn't matter. Carter drove his knee into the alien's throat, yanked a blade from his boot, and finished him fast. Soraya had seen many warriors, but nothing like this. They reached the base of the tower.
More enemies were coming.
Too many. Carter shoved the EMP into her hands. "You throw, I'll cover." She didn't argue. She leaped forward, dodging blasts, and slammed the EMP into the base of the tower. It exploded in a silent wave of blue light. All enemy tech within 100 meters shut down instantly. Mechs collapsed. Comms died. Shields failed. The battlefield went quiet again. Then they ran fast and low. Back into cover. When they finally stopped behind a broken wall, Carter dropped to one knee. He was pale. Soraya grabbed his arm. "You're bleeding too much." "I've had worse," he said, panting. She pulled out her last stim injector and slammed it into his shoulder. He hissed, then smiled again. "You're all right, Soraya." She looked at him, really looked, and realized something terrifying. This human wasn't just brave, he was dangerous. But not to her, to anyone who tried to hurt her. Carter didn't scream, not once. Even when Soraya peeled off the burned part of his armor, revealing the deep plasma wound across his ribs. He just clenched his teeth and stayed quiet, but she could feel it. It's the pain, the heat coming off his body. His skin was blistered. The smell of cooked flesh filled the small bunker they'd taken shelter in. "Lie still," she said. He chuckled weakly. "I am." "Then stop breathing like a dying beast." "I'm not dying." He looked at her. "Not while you're still fighting." That silenced her for a moment. She turned away, pretending to grab supplies from the ruined medkit. But her hands trembled. No one had ever said something like that to her, not even her own people. He believed in her, and now she had to keep him alive. She dug into the kit and found a human injector, a strange tool, long, thick, filled with some golden glowing liquid. She didn't recognize it. "What is this?" Carter's voice was faint. "Gen blood. Emergency regenerator. Illegal in half the galaxy. Works fast. Hurts like hell." She hesitated. "Will it work on humans and aliens alike?" "It's designed. 2. For special teams." "Your military was?" He looked up at her with tired eyes. "I just help who I can." She didn't ask more. She plunged the injector into his neck. The reaction was instant. Carter's back arched off the floor. He let out a deep, animal-like growl. His veins lit up gold beneath the skin. The wound on his ribs began to close slowly but surely. His fingers dug into the floor. Then he passed out. Soraya sat there, stunned. Whatever this gen blood was, it was beyond anything her people used. Even the Varnai High medics never had tech that fast. That aggressive. She looked at his face. Relaxed now. breathing steady. She touched his cheek gently, almost without meaning to. This man had no reason to fight for her. No family here, no orders, no reward. He just chose to. She leaned back against the cold wall. Outside, enemy scanners still buzzed. The sky flashed. The war wasn't over, but inside this bunker, she felt safe for the first time in days. Hours passed when Carter woke. Soraya was standing at the door with his rifle in her arms. "You're awake," she said flatly. "Didn't think I'd die before breakfast," he joked. She handed him the weapon. "You owe me," he took it with a smile. "I'll pay you back. You better then." Her tone softened. "How do you feel?" Carter stood up slowly. "Stretched like I got hit by a ship. But I'll survive." She studied him. He was different. Now the way he moved, the sharpness in his eyes, whatever that Genblood did, made him faster, stronger. His body was healing faster than hers ever could. "You're kind," she asked carefully. "Are all humans like this?" He paused. Thought for a moment. "No," he said honestly. "Most wouldn't be here. Most wouldn't even care." "Then why are you here?" His answer was simple. "'Cause someone has to care." Soraya didn't speak. Couldn't. There was a knock on the bunker hatch, metal against metal. They both turned. Weapons raised. But it wasn't an enemy, it was a child. Alien child, muddy scared, holding a small tracker beacon in her shaking hands. Carter lowered his gun. So did Soraya. The girl whispered something in Soraya's language. She says, "Others are trapped," Soraya translated. "Hiding. Injured." Carter didn't hesitate. He grabbed his rifle and pack. "Then let's go." Soraya blinked. "You just woke up. I said I'd pay you back, remember?" She smiled for the first time. Then they followed the girl into the ruins. Not knowing what they'd face next, but knowing they'd face it together. The entrance was hidden beneath shattered stone and old mining shaft from before the war. The alien child led them there, silent and pale. She didn't speak again, just pointed with trembling fingers at the broken hatch. Soraya crouched to listen. No movement below. No signs of tech. If there are survivors, they're too weak to signal. Carter examined the narrow hole with a small flashlight. "Sure this doesn't collapse?" She smirked. "You're the one always running into danger. Now you ask questions?" He shrugged. Felt like the right time. And they climbed. Down it was dark. It's not battlefield dark. This was the kind of darkness that pressed on your chest, like a grave swallowing you slowly. Their boots echoed on rusted metal steps. Moisture dripped from pipes above. The air was thick and old. Soraya walked ahead, her night vision scanning the tunnel. Carter stayed just behind her, adjusting. But it wasn't the darkness that bothered him. It was the silence. Too quiet. No wounded voices. No breathing. It's the wind through empty steel. They moved deeper. Soraya paused. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I hear something." Carter raised his weapon. "Where?" She pointed. And then they saw it. A pile of alien bodies. Some fresh. Some old. All marked with the same burn pattern precision strikes. "They were executed," Soraya said, voice cracking. "Not by brutes," Carter muttered, examining the wounds. "Clean shots. Someone trained. Someone like you." He didn't answer, because deep down he knew this wasn't just enemy work. It was human tech. Suddenly, the airlock behind them slammed shut. Boom. They spun around trapped. Carter cursed and ran back, slamming his fists against the door. It was sealed tight. A mechanical voice echoed through the tunnel. "Unauthorized presence detected. Cleanse protocol initiated." Soraya's blood ran cold. "That's not alien," Carter agreed. "It's human AI." He turned to her, grim. "We're not in an old mine." She looked around, piecing it together. The layout, the power grid, smooth metallic design. This was a hidden research site. He nodded. Probably abandoned during the early war. But something's still running down here. A red light blinked ahead. Carter raised his rifle. "Let's move." They pushed forward, stepping over bodies, past ruined labs and shattered terminals. Then they found the source, a massive room with containment pods, some shattered, some humming. Inside one, figure, a young alien girl, no older than Soraya's sister, was curled inside. Alive! Seer gasped. She's still breathing. But before she could open the pod, Carter grabbed her arm. Wait. He pointed to the control screen. It read, Experimental Host Binder, Subject Number 7, Unstable. What does that mean? She whispered. He didn't know. But his gut told him one thing. They weren't alone. Behind them, the door slid open with a sharp hiss. A figure stepped through, human clean armor. Shaved head, a red insignia on his chest. He looked at Carter and smiled coldly. Well, I thought you died, Sergeant. Soraya raised her weapon. Who is he? She hissed. Carter stared at the man, his jaw clenched. His name's Rylan. He used to be my commander. Soraya's eyes widened. Used to be, Rylan smirked. I'm still in command, Carter. You're just on the wrong side now. Then he raised his weapon and everything went red. The red light faded. Carter was on the ground, blood dripping from his shoulder. The shot didn't kill him, but it was meant to hurt, humiliate. Rylan's favorite tactic, Soraya stood in front of him now, shielding his body with her own blade. Drawn, breathing fast, she should have been terrified, but something inside her snapped. Touch him again, she warned, and I'll show you what real pain feels like. Rylan didn't blink. Instead, he stepped closer, his voice smooth like poison. You've changed, Carter, trading your people. For a creature, Carter coughed but lifted his head. She's worth 10 of you. Soraya's throat tightened. Not from fear, but from hearing that. Rylan laughed. She's not even fully grown. Look at her still noble blood, isn't she? Daughter of the Verni matron? The one who wouldn't kneel? Soraya's grip on her blade tightened. You knew my mother? Oh yes, Rylan said with a grin. She begged when she died. Remember her eyes when I broke her shield? The tunnel filled with silence. Soraya's hands trembled, but not from weakness. From rage, you killed her. Rylan leaned in close. I did. And now, I'll break her daughter too. But not with weapons. With obedience. Carter reached for his pistol, dragging it along the floor. Rylan kicked it away. You think you can protect her, Carter? He said coldly. But the Vernet bloodline means it's sacred to them. But to me, paused. It's valuable. Soraya's breath hitched. You're not here for war. No, Rylan said simply. I'm here for her. He turned to his soldiers for armored humans, all silent. Bag the girl. I want her breathing, not broken yet. 2 soldiers stepped forward. Soraya raised her blade and screamed. The sound was sharp, not a cry of fear, but of fury. She launched forward, faster than expected. Her blade struck one soldier in the neck, burning through the armor. The second aimed, but Carter rolled into him, slamming a metal rod into his gut. They fought together. Wounded, but wild. Rylan backed up. She's entering blood rage, he hissed. Sedate her. One of the pods behind them exploded, chain reaction from Carter's earlier EMP. The power surged, lights burst. Sirens blared. Soraya tackled the last guard, her blade slicing in. Wide arcs. Her movements were not trained anymore. They were primal, like a storm. Carter struggled to his feet, grabbing a loose stun baton and charging toward Rylan. Their weapons met. Sparks flew. You taught me to fight dirty, Carter growled. And you still lost your edge, Rylan sneered. They clashed, brutal fast, each strike fueled by old betrayal. Meanwhile, Soraya stood over the bodies, panting, covered in blood. Her body shook, but not from exhaustion. Something inside her had awakened. The rage, the memory. The truth? She turned. Dan locked eyes with Carter, still wrestling with Rylan. And she knew what to do with the last of her energy. She grabbed a broken energy lance from the floor. Carter ducked. He dropped. The lance flew from her hands, spinning. Like a javelin straight into Rylan's chest. It hit with a crack. Rylan froze, eyes wide. He staggered, coughing blood, looking at her in disbelief. You. Then he fell. Silence returned. Carter dropped beside him, checking for signs of life. Nothing. He looked at Soraya, her chest rising and falling fast. You didn't have to, I did, she said firmly. He wanted to own me, my blood. Body, like I was some object. I chose to stop him. Carter nodded slowly, then, without thinking, he held out his hand. She took it, and in that moment, there were no words, just two broken warriors standing together. A storm was coming. Not the kind made of clouds, but steel, fire, and war cries. Above the tunnels, the sky cracked with thunder, but it wasn't weather, it was dropships. Dozens of them, Malian and human alike. Carter and Soraya stood at the surface. Hatch, staring upward. The enemy had called reinforcements before the tower was destroyed. Now what was left of both armies was coming down. For them, Carter tightened the straps of his armor. His ribs still ached from the earlier fight, and his body hadn't fully healed. But pain didn't matter now. 10 minutes, he muttered, checking his wrist beacon. That's how long before the evac ship arrives. Soraya stood beside him, silent, pale. Her armor was cracked. Her left leg bled through the seal. But her eyes were full of fire. We won't survive 10 minutes, she said softly. Carter looked at her. Then we hold for 9, he replied. He pulled a small data core from his pack and handed it to her. This has everything. Of Ryland's experiments, the hidden site, the Verni blood tests. It's proof. If we don't make it, someone has to tell your people. She stared at the core, then looked back at him. I'm not leaving you. I know, he said quietly. But I still had to ask. The moment froze. The wind howled across the ruins. Then the first wave hit. Enemy soldiers dropped from the sky like claws of shadow. They roared in hunger, vengeful for Ryland's death. Eager to take Soraya alive, Carter fired first. 3 down in the first volley. Soraya followed her blade singing through the air. Carving paths of light, they fought back to back again. Just like before. But this time, they weren't outnumbered by dozens. They were outnumbered by hundreds. Time bent around them. Blasts shook the ground. Screams tore through the smoke. Carter saw Soraya get pulled by 2 brutes. He turned, but was too far to help until she unleashed something new. She screamed, and the scream carried power. A pulse erupted from her chest. The brutes stumbled, their tech frying instantly. Soraya stood tall, her markings glowing faintly for the first time. Carter stared. What was that? She looked at her hands, confused. I don't know. It only woke up just now. Keep using it, he shouted. Whatever it is, it's working. They regrouped by a broken wall. Carter was bleeding again. Soraya had a cut across her cheek. The dropship wasn't there yet. More enemies kept coming. Carter turned to her. We can't hold this forever. Soraya looked at the horizon, then she made a choice. She grabbed a distress flare from Carter's pack and activated it. But instead of launching it straight into the sky, she threw it behind them into a mountain of old munitions. Boom. A fireball rose, lighting the battlefield in red and orange. Dozens of enemies were caught in the blast. Carter shielded her body with his own, tackling her to the ground as the shockwave rolled past. They coughed, rolled over, eyes wide, hair full of ash. And then they heard it. The roar of engines above them. Finally, the evac ship appeared blazing down like salvation. The human rescue unit began firing from above, clearing a path. A voice rang in Carter's earpiece. Evac team on site. We have you visual. Hold position. Carter pulled Soraya to her feet. We've got a window. She staggered beside him, limping hard. I'm slowing you down. You're not, he said. I can't run. You're not running. He pulled her onto his back. Firemen carry, ran through the smoke. Enemies chased. The ground exploded behind them, but Carter didn't stop. He ran like his life depended on it, because it did, because hers did too. As the ship's ramp opened, Carter leapt forward, landing hard inside. The ramp closed, the ship lifted, and just like that they were gone. Inside the ship, medics rushed toward them, but Carter didn't let go. He just held her tight. Trembling, heart pounding, Soraya opened her eyes slowly. "You carried me," she whispered. He smiled, weak. "You've been carrying me since the first day." She blinked. And in that moment, something passed between them and spoken. Unbroken, not victory, but something stronger, connection. The stars above were peaceful. Not long ago, those same stars had watched war unfold. Now they shimmered quietly as if trying to forget the screams, the fire, and the broken dreams left behind. The ship cruised toward the outer rim. Inside, everything felt still. Soraya sat by the wide observation window, wrapped in a silver medical blanket, her wounds freshly sealed. The ship's hum was soft, almost like a lullaby. Carter entered, a bandage over one eye, arm in a sling butt, walking. They looked at each other, no words, just relief, and something else that neither of them could describe yet. He sat beside her, close, but not too close. She didn't move away. "You all right?" he asked, voice low. "I will be," she replied. There was a long pause. Then she added, "Because you didn't let go." Carter smiled gently. "You made it hard, too." She smirked. "Most people say I make things difficult. You do? But in the best way." They both chuckled, soft, tired. Then the screen in front of them flickered to life. A high-ranking human commander appeared. "General Takara, Sergeant Carter, Varney warrior Soraya." She nodded. "We've reviewed your report and the data. Core you retrieved." Soraya leaned forward. "Will it help my people?" "Yes," Takara said. "But more than that, Tit changes everything." She paused, then added, "The Varney are now under protected status. By Earth's authority, Ryland's operations were unauthorized. Your people, and you. More than apologies." Soraya's eyes filled with something close to disbelief. "You're helping us?" "For once," Takara said, "we're trying to be better allies than enemies." The screen cut off. Soraya sat back slowly. She turned to Carter. "So what now?" Carter looked out at the stars, then at her. "I don't really know," he admitted. "I wasn't planning to survive." "Neither was I," she whispered. They were quiet again. But this silence was different. Not full of fear. Full of peace, then. Soraya broke it with a question she never thought she'd ask. "Would you?" "Come with me." Carter raised an eyebrow. "To Varney territory?" She nodded. "To show them that not all humans destroy. They'll let some protect. Fight beside us. Heal us." He blinked, then slowly nodded. "I'd like that." They both smiled. Bruised but alive, and as the stars shifted across the window, they sat shoulder to shoulder. War had brought them together, but now the quiet would carry them forward. Not as soldier and survivor, but as something else. Partners, maybe even more.